So, a fireball crossed the sky over 6 American states and parts of Canada. Witnesses reported it. Astronomers logged it. Then something came down in the woods outside a small Pennsylvania town, and the official story shifted at least once across 4 decades. Kecksburg is an unincorporated community in Westmoreland County, Pennsylvania, roughly 30 miles southeast of Pittsburgh. It sits in heavily wooded terrain at an elevation of just over 1,200 feet along a rural state route. In December 1965, it was the kind of place where not much happened. What normal should have looked like on the evening of December 9th was simple: darkness, quiet trees, and maybe a distant radio signal from Pittsburgh. Instead, residents looked up. The fireball was observed across a wide arc of the eastern United States and Canada, reported by citizens across 6 states as well as the Detroit and Windsor areas. Astronomers offered an immediate working explanation: a meteor bolide burning through the atmosphere at a steep descent angle. That explanation was plausible, scientifically grounded, and publicly available within days. But in Kecksburg, people reported more than a light in the sky. Witnesses described an object that appeared to come down into the woods near the community. Local residents went into those woods to look. What they reported seeing, according to accounts that would accumulate over the following years, was a structured object partially embedded in the ground. The shape described was acorn-like. Some accounts mention markings around the base resembling a decorative or symbolic band. These are witness accounts. They were not all collected immediately, and the source pack does not provide a contemporaneous official transcript confirming those specific physical descriptions. What the record does confirm is that military personnel arrived. The area around the impact site was cordoned off. Civilians were moved back. Something was loaded onto a flatbed truck and transported away under cover, according to the later accounts. Local media reported the military presence at the time. Then officially, nothing was found. The U.S. Army issued a statement saying that a search of the woods had turned up nothing unusual. No object, no debris field consistent with a structured craft. For years, that was the public-facing conclusion: a fireball, likely meteoric, no recovered material of significance. That is where the case sat for decades, accumulating interest in ufology circles and earning the informal designation Pennsylvania's Roswell. Then in 2005, NASA released a statement that reframed everything. According to that 2005 NASA statement, experts had examined fragments recovered from the Kecksburg area and had determined they came from a Soviet satellite. The statement also reported that records of those findings were lost in 1987. That combination, a positive identification and then missing documentation, is not a minor administrative footnote. It is the structural center of every unresolved question that follows. NASA responded to court orders and Freedom of Information Act requests to search for the records. The search did not produce them. The Soviet satellite most frequently associated with the incident is Kosmos 96, designated 3MV4 number 6. It was a spacecraft built for a Venus flyby as part of the Soviet Venera program. Due to a launch failure, it never left low Earth orbit. Its re-entry into Earth's atmosphere is documented as a hypothesis in connection with the Kecksburg incident, not as a confirmed fact. The timing and trajectory have been subjects of ongoing technical dispute among researchers. Here is where the evidence splits into competing explanations, each carrying weight and each carrying problems. The first and most scientifically conservative explanation is a meteor bolide. Astronomers said so at the time. A fireball visible across 6 states and 2 countries is consistent with a large meteoric body. Bolides can produce sonic booms, fragmentation, and localized ground impact. Witness accounts of an object in the woods could reflect post-event suggestion, the difficulty of estimating distance at night, or fragments that were removed not because of secrecy, but because of routine protocol for retrieving foreign debris. The second explanation, supported by the 2005 NASA statement, is re-entered Soviet satellite debris specifically Kosmos 96 or another unacknowledged object. This would explain why military personnel secured the area, why civilian access was restricted, and why the recovery would have been handled quietly during the Cold War. Acknowledging Soviet hardware landing on U.S. soil in 1965 carried intelligence and diplomatic implications. Secrecy would have been rational, not conspiratorial. The counter-evidence here is the lost records, an identification that cannot now be verified through the chain of documentation that should support it. The third category is the more speculative end of the spectrum, an unknown object of undetermined origin. This explanation absorbs the witness descriptions that do not map neatly onto either a meteor or a satellite capsule, including the reported acorn shape and the alleged markings. But witness accounts reconstructed years after an event in the presence of growing media interest are subject to contamination and elaboration. The source pack does not provide a contemporaneous physical description from an official document. What this case illustrates is how a gap in the record does not stay empty. The 1965 military response to a rural Pennsylvania fireball would likely have drawn little lasting attention if the official explanation had held and the paperwork had survived. It did not survive. That absence became the event. The Cold War context matters here in ways that are often underweighted. In 1965, both superpowers were launching hardware into orbit with regularity, and both had strong reasons to avoid public acknowledgement when that hardware came down in inconvenient places. A quiet recovery, a brief denial, and a file that was eventually lost or destroyed would have been unremarkable inside the bureaucratic logic of that era. None of that makes it innocent. It also does not make it extraordinary. The same institutional behavior can produce either outcome. The cultural footprint of the incident has grown steadily. It anchors a corner of American ufology, appears in documentary treatments, and inspired a 2019 science fiction film. That cultural weight does not constitute evidence in either direction, but it does reflect something real. The documented behavior of authorities at Kecksburg, combined with the documented disappearance of NASA's own findings, creates a legitimate evidentiary gap that no released record has closed. Return to that December evening. A fireball crosses 6 states. Something comes down in the woods above a quiet Pennsylvania town. Military personnel arrive and secure the perimeter. An object or objects may have been removed. Decades later, an agency confirms it examined fragments and identified them, then reports the identification is gone. The strongest remaining question is not what landed in Kecksburg. It is why the documentation confirming what NASA's own experts found has never been recovered, and whether it still exists somewhere in a filing system that has not yet been searched. The unsolved vault. Every case leaves something behind.